This 33 Plymouth Coupe is an interesting car because it was a hot rod that was first built 20 or 30 years ago. And we're restoring it back to the time when it was built. We think it was built in Northern California, the best we can tell. And so the car is not totally stock, but we're trying to restore it just like it was probably in the 70s or 80s. I'm going to sit in it so you can see how low I sit inside the car. You get an idea. I don't have much headroom, but it should be a fun car. It has a lot of modifications, but the basic body is still a 1933 Plymouth Coupe, 5-window coupe. The body is almost ready for paint. A little more work. This little part on the front of the car here is a remote filler for the brake fluid. So the brakes are brake fluid reservoirs underneath the car, so you can fill it right here on the front. And the body's been stripped down. I put the seat in so you can see where the seat's going to be and get an idea. The doors are interesting on these cars because, like the Ford, they open from the front. They're called suicide doors. They look, the Fords and the Chevys and the Plymouths all look pretty much the same. This, of course, is a Plymouth. It's going to be a hot rod, so you can see the tail lights are off a 39 Ford, but other than that, the body's pretty stock. The car will be modernized. It'll have electric power windows. Even the rear window back into the car is going to go up and down electronically. So gives you an idea about the car. We have all of the upholstery done already, and it's in tan leather. Like the seat that's sitting in the car right now. All of the upholstery matches that. Headliner, doors, everything is like that. The dash is a polished piece of aluminum that'll go in and cover up. The windshield is the kind that comes out. It comes out about 2 or 3 inches at the bottom, swings out at the bottom. And so that's going to be kind of fun. And we have all of those things just ready to go back together after we paint it. The chassis is an interesting chassis that is going to handle this 33 body. The nose piece that I'm pointing to here is for a 32 Ford. And the front end of the car, the chassis looks an awful lot like a Ford. It's got a dropped solid front axle, and the brakes in the front are disc brakes, which is pretty common for a hot rod. The suspension is what is called a 4-bar, 2 bars here and 2 bars in the back, and the engine sitting on the chassis, or kind of in the chassis, is a small block Chevy, a 350, and the transmission is an automatic, which is also a 350. The back of the car, I'm not positive about this, but it looks like it has a Lincoln rear end and the disc brakes that go with that Lincoln rear end. So it's got disc brakes in the front, disc brakes in the back, and the mufflers that you're seeing as we're panning over this are aftermarket Flowmasters. I think they're 40s. It sounds, we've had the engine running, it sounds really, really good. Also, in panning over this, we see the brakes, the master brake cylinder, and as I pointed out on the body, it has a remote reservoir on the firewall, so you don't need to take the floor apart to get down and put fluid in the brake master cylinder, and it's a power brake. And of course it has the dual exhaust like you'd expect it to have. Big fat tires in the back like we kind of expect hot rods will have. One thing I didn't mention on the body is the body does not sit on the top of the frame. It actually slides down over the frame about 4 or 5 inches right there. So the body sits down low over the frame, which is called, that's what you do when you channel a body. It's channeled down over the frame. So the body sits 4 inches or 5 inches lower than it normally would sit, which makes it look kind of cool.
That's on both sides?
Yeah. So, so the body sits over top of the frame. It goes down right here, about 4 or 5 inches, sits down over the frame, and that's what these 2 cutouts are for here on the firewall. And that makes the body sit much lower. And sometimes we chop a top. The top is stock here, but in this one, to get the body lower, they sat the body down over the frame about 4 or 5 inches.